Hi, I'm Brian Nilles. I'm Chief Executive at Vicon USA. Here at Vicon, we believe we've produced the leading motion capture solution available. The Vicon 8 system has been used on countless films, including Star Wars Episode 1, The Mummy, Titanic, Gladiator, Patriot, just about every video game produced to date, including NHL 2K, NFL 2K, The Legend of Zelda, a recent release by Rare, Perfect Dark, broadcast television productions, commercials, music videos, and many others. We've created these clips to show you an introduction on how to do motion capture. Our first clip will show you how to prepare for the motion capture session. Our second clip will actually go into a motion capture session with a single character. And finally, our last clip will show you multiple character capture with weapons. So let's talk about how to prepare for the motion capture shoot. Here with us today is Alberto Menacci, CG Supervisor at Sony Pictures ImageWorks and author of the book, Understanding Motion Capture for Computer Animation in Video Games. Take it away, Alberto.
Thank you, Brian. The first step in preparing for a motion capture shoot is actually to determine whether motion capture is the right tool for the project. To determine this, the criteria is first, do you need realistic motion? If you determine that this is true, then you have to determine if what you need to capture is possible to perform. For example, you wouldn't be able to perform 40 feet fall with a stunt performer falling on rocks and bouncing. The third criteria is to make sure your capture volume or the capture area is enough. A very good use of motion capture would be, for example, foreground or background humanoid characters. One of my favorites is actually background crowds. For example, crowds in a stadium doing different cycles with many reactions. That would be a favorite of mine. You've decided to use motion capture. The next step is to do pre-production planning. For this, you need a script, you need production storyboards, and you need to create a table of shots that are candidates for motion capture. After you've done that, you create what I call the motion capture blueprint for each shot. These blueprints include storyboards specific for motion capture, which are top, side, and front views. You have for each shot a description. You have technical information such as file names, naming conventions, frames per second, and you have additional information such as rigs, props, and special instructions. After you have the blueprints, all you need to do is to schedule each shot when it's going to be shot. And basically you do this by availability of talent and different volume setups for your motion capture equipment. Performance is the most important thing in motion capture. If you don't get the right performance, you could have the best technology in the world, but it would be worth nothing. Users tend to underestimate the performance because the end result is so removed from the initial acting. Casting should be approached just as if you were casting for live action. But in addition, you should make sure your talent feels comfortable wearing leotards and markers. When directing the session, the director is responsible to make sure talent feels comfortable and they assume their digital suit. Also, the director needs to be aware of all the technical aspects of motion capture. Now you have your motion capture blueprints, your talents, and your motion capture set. Now you're ready to go and do your motion capture session. In the next segment, we will show you how to capture one character in real time. My name is Alberto Menacci. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Brian Nilles. I'm Chief Executive here at Vicon USA. We're going to show you a real-time motion capture shoot with our optical technology. There are also other technologies out there that do similar things. One of them is magnetic technology, where you'll see a performer that has transmitters on different parts of their body and different parts of their joints, with wires going to a transmitter pack. Now the advantage with magnetic is it's always been real time and it's really entrenched in TV, broadcast, and that sort of thing. Some of the disadvantages with magnetic are that it's less accurate than optical and it won't perform in a very, very large area like the Vicon technology can do. Another technology that you may have seen before is mechanical technology. And that's where the performer actually wears a mechanical suit or a structured suit. And when the performer moves a joint, its proximity is measured at the joint and the nuances of the performance are measured. Now the advantages with mechanical are that you can use it outside. There are a number of environments that you can use it that you can't with magnetic and optical. One of the disadvantages is that because it's a mechanical suit, you can't collide with another actor. So there's some stunt work and that sort of thing that can't be done with mechanical. So let's take a look and walk through what it's like to use a Vicon system and what it takes to set up a mocap shoot. One of the key elements of the Vicon 8 system is the MCam. Now this MCam technology was designed and built in-house by Vicon engineers. It's revolutionary in that it's the fastest, highest resolution camera available in the world, not just motion capture. And what we have here is actually a video camera. I'll take the strobe off. A video camera that runs at 1,000,000 pixels, 1,000 by 1,000 pixel resolution at 120 frames per second. Now we have a strobe that's mounted on the outside of the camera, and the strobe emits a narrow wavelength of red, bounces off the reflective markers that are on the actor's body or face, bounces back into the video image, and we pick up that image, threshold it, and use the marker centers to find the positions of 3D dots. Now because the Vicon's resolution is so high, not only can we use very, very small markers, even smaller than this, but we can also avoid collinearity, which is a source of noise for optical systems. The bottom line is that the MCam can produce very, very clean raw data, which means that you won't have to spend time cleaning up data or hand-holding it to get it into a final animation. Now let's take a look at a couple elements of the MCam. Everything is controlled from the data station via software, so that once a camera is set up in place, whether it's in a rafter or it's on a wall mount, you'll never have to touch the camera again. We can control the strobe intensity from software, so if you want to illuminate different sections differently, you can do that without having to touch the camera. We've even added a nice feature here, which is the VGA out. So we provide a heads-up display that can be worn by an installer, so when you're doing a new camera setup and you want to be able to point the cameras in the direction that you wish, you can plug into the back of each camera. You don't have to depend on anybody with a live monitor or another person to do your camera setup. Now calibration is required anytime we change the position of the cameras or we just start our work in the morning. Now with the Vicon 8 system, calibration is very easy. It requires a two-step process. One, a static object. This has just 4 markers in place, and we take a 20-frame snapshot of that, and its job is to establish our global axis or our XYZ coordinates. Now the second part of the calibration process is the wand wave. We know the distance between these two markers, and when we wave it around in our active area, the system back calculates the position and orientation of each one of the cameras. So once that's been done, anytime we throw a marker into the volume or the active area, we know exactly where it is, plus or minus a millimeter or 2 in a volume this size. Now let's do an actual real-time motion capture trial. What we're going to be doing, our cameras always run at 120 frames per second, but the real-time playback, the actual rendered playback, will be some subset of that, maybe 60, 70, 80 frames per second. But we'll use the 120 frame per second, the very high resolution data for your production. So let's do a real trial here, Megan. Scott, are you ready for capture? Very good. Megan, let's have you just do a simple twirl on my call, and let's see how that goes. So rolling, action. Okay, Megan, raise your hands up a little higher. Thank you. Okay, come to a stop. Arms to the side, relax, take a deep breath, and cut. So let's take a look at the trial processed at the full res 120 frame per second rate. Now let's take a look at that trial at half speed. And what this will allow us to do is take a very close look at the details of the performance we were able to capture. So Megan spins. I ask her to raise her arms with our real-time playback. That's the performance I was looking for. She settles. I ask her to relax. And you see the deep breath there. Now that's what separates Vicon from other manufacturers of motion capture equipment. We can capture the details, all the subtle nuances of the performance We've shown you how we can direct a shoot in real time and how we can take that information and use it for your rendered image in your film, your game, your television production. Thanks very much. I'm Brian Millis.
Hi, I'm Scott Danielson with Vicon. In this segment, we're going to cover multi-character capturing of subjects in a capture volume. And what that entails is relatively simple. We're going to have a subject step out into the volume, go into what we call a static neutral pose. We'll capture that, we'll hand label it, setting up a template to be able to automatically reconstruct those points with labels on them for the rest of our captures. What it's also going to do for us is we're going to have props that we're going to be inserting in there. So without further ado, Amber, static pose please. Thank you. Trial, capture. We're going to go ahead and select our subject, and that is right there. Go ahead and hit capture. Start the capture. It's going to capture for 3 seconds, and what it's going to display when it first comes up on the screen is the 3D points of the markers that are on Amber out there. Once that's done, what we can go ahead and do is we can go ahead and kind of visualize this a bit better by zooming out. What we see here are the 18 cameras, which are represented by the orange globes. What you can do there is you can now visualize where your cameras are relative to the subject in the volume. We can go ahead and select a point, and now we can actually see which cameras are contributing to that point in 3D space. With that being done, what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to label up these points by hand for the first time. Select it from our list off to the side. Doing that, we can go ahead and see what we have. Everything's looking relatively well there. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to have Amber step out of the volume, have someone place the prop that she's going to be using for the rest of the trials. Kim, please bring out the prop. Same procedure for this. Going to go ahead and capture it for 3 seconds. Then what we'll see on the screen when it comes up is we're going to see the 3 points that define that weapon. There they are. We'll go ahead and select them. Choose from our list, save it, and close. And it's pretty much that simple. We're going to go ahead and do that with one other subject and one other weapon, and then we'll be ready to capture. Okay, what we're going to go ahead and do now is a 2-person capture. What we have 2 subjects out there. We have Megan and Amber. They both have a prop each. What we're going to go ahead and do is run this through. I'm going to prepare the software for capture. Ladies, are you ready? In position, and go. So now let's go ahead and take a look at that in Kadara's film box. What you can see here is the data, quick previs with underlying skeleton, the markers, and the model all at once. Let's go ahead and take a look at that full screen. Now we can go ahead and take a look at the data with only the markers and the model. And from that point, just with the character data. So as you can see, it's pretty simple to go from an initial production into final CG representation using the Vicon 8 system and capturing multiple characters and props. I'm Scott Danielson. Thank you for watching.